Hello, everybody. This is Joy Lacheray, and you are listening to the Matured Musicians Group today. And I have a guest, Donnie Bowles. And as soon as I get through giving a shout out to my sponsor, we will start. So, my sponsor is Luscious Moss Studio, owned and operated by Chad Quest in Lynnwash, Washington. And he is set up primarily for guitarists and drummers, but he does do other things, and he has produced my music. So, he can be found on Facebook by either Luscious Moss Studio or Chad Christ, and you will find him there. So, with that being said, and and by the way, his whole environment is just set up for creativity. He's a great producer. But anyway, thank you, Chad. And with that, we will start. Donnie, how did you get started in rock?
Well, it
Or
kind of
music, period. I mean, anything.
yeah, music. My dad was a musician, so I kind of think there was some DNA going on there. Um, but at a very young age, he handed me a Dan Electro bass and taught me three
Oh,
notes, A, D, and E, which when transposed, hey, you can play blues with that.
you
And
play a lot of stuff for that.
he always had friends around the house doing these acoustic jams. I'm just a little guy.
Yeah.
And he would let me wear this bass. He cinched up the straps so it kind of looked cool. And you remember the old TV sets that had the big tube, big console TV? I would stand in such a way that I'd just be strumming the heck out of this bass, but I could watch my reflection in the TV screen. And I just thought it was, I've arrived. But then at a young age, my parents, they didn't really let me listen to rock and roll music because
I wonder why.
Satan created that.
Well,
So they took me to a Johnny Cash concert in Long Beach, California, at the Long Beach Sports Arena.
speaking of the
And
devil.
and his whole family was there. Everybody was there, and they all came out according to pecking order. So Johnny was the last guy to come out. And when he walked out, he was dressed in black. He had that smile. And he got in the microphone and gave the typical, "Hi, I'm Johnny Cash." And the crowd went ballistic. And I thought, I got to do this. I got to do this. So it was a lot of country music. Jerry Lee Lewis was kind of the most rebellious music in the house at the time. A lot of 50s stuff that my parents grew up with. But then my life changed. A friend of mine gave me an 8-track tape. I'm dating myself. He gave me an 8-track tape of Kiss Alive 2, which was recorded at the Los Angeles Forum, my hometown. And I played that and I thought, oh my God. It made me want to do it louder, faster, and more aggressive. But I didn't have a guitar. I didn't have any instruments. So you remember the old wire hangers with the cardboard tube that the cleaners would send your stuff home in? I would tear those apart and I would wrap the cardboard tubes in electrical tape. And they made the perfect drumsticks. And I would sit at the kitchen table in front of my mom's couch and I would arrange the pillows just like Peter Criss's drum set.
Right.
And I beat her pillows to death. And I did that for a long, long time. And I would also stand in front of the mirror playing a broom, serious music geek.
Hey, I write them, Donnie.
Anyway, so, fast forward to my teenage years, there still wasn't a lot of music involved. One teacher in 8th grade was a guitar player that I kind of was fascinated by, but music really didn't do anything. It wasn't in my life yet in the physical playing sense.
Right.
So, fast forward to my teenage years, my school at the time did not really have a music program. So I couldn't do it in school.
Where was that, Donnie?
That was at a high school called Lusinger High School. It was right on the border of Lawndale and Hawthorne, California. suburb of LA. And so anyway, that was going on. Well, my parents were members of the Moose Lodge.
Yeah.
And I would do the dishes every Saturday night for the Saturday night dinner, just so I could be there to watch the bands, because dinner stopped serving at 8:30. By 8:59 p.m., I had that kitchen clean, dried, lights out, and I'm standing there in the doorway watching the bands.
Cool.
And there was some, mostly country, some 50s kind of stuff, a little bit of rockabilly, that kind of thing. There was one band in particular. They were called the Jim Kearns Band, and they were a three-piece. The two guys out in front, one was Jim Kearns. He was a lead guitar player, Hawthorne police officer. The bass player and singer, his name was Eddie something. I don't remember his last name, but he played bass, and he was a Carson City sheriff's deputy, Carson, California sheriff's deputy. The drummer, this guy, he was much younger than them, legal adult, but much younger, long, stringy hair. He built surfboards for a living, but he was a phenomenal drummer. And he played a regular what they call a trap kit, 4-piece drum set. And he made so much noise with that kit. And I hung on his coattails. I asked him every question I could about cymbals, drum heads, gear, timing, tempo, you name it. I asked him. Well, one night they were getting ready to go back up off of a break. And he says, "Hey, do you want to play?" And I said, "Oh God, yes, I do." I was ready. That was my moment, So they get up on stage and they say, "Hey, we're going to bring Donnie up to play some drums." Well, of course, my parents are just like, "No, okay,
cops in there.
What are you doing?" They had no idea that I had any sense of rhythm or even a serious, intense love for music. So I said, "Mom, I got this." I went up there and we played Proud Mary from Creedence Clearwater Revival, and I nailed it. And I came off stage and my parents are just like,
"Is that our son?
Where's our son? Where did you learn this?" And it wasn't long after that, I had a drum set in the house, and God bless my late mother. She the summer of what year? 80, the summer of 80, the summer of 81, part of the summer of 82. That's all I did. I didn't go out with my friends. I was music geek personified, and I really started honing in on the drums, and played with garage bands and went to Hollywood anytime I could to see the up and coming hair metal scene. I'd have to sneak into clubs because I was a kid, and they served alcohol, demon alcohol. And anyway, well, when I hit 17 years old, I was getting ready to go into my senior year of high school, and I had absolutely nothing going for me. I hated school. I wasn't a dummy, but I hated school. I just couldn't deal with it. And in my junior year, they got the music program going because another high school in our district closed. So it freed up some money and resources. Suddenly we had a marching band. I went, forehead deep into that. I was on the drum squad, started off with just a tenor boom boom drum. And I ultimately made it to first chair snare, and marched in a ton of parades and field competitions. Well, I wanted to be the drum major, and I thought, okay, I'm the up and coming senior here. It's me. I'm going to be the guy. But my grades were terrible. They wouldn't. My band director said, "You know what? It would have been you, but your grades are terrible," and that just shut school right there. It shut school down. So I got a job at Taco Bell, and moved. I left my house. My parents and I just kind of went like that for a while. And I went back to visit my mom one day, let her know I was alive. And she said, "What are you going to do with your life? I mean, you're going to continue to work at Taco Bell? You're going to sell drugs? What are you going to do?" And I said, well, I don't really know. And she said, well, you could do this, this, and this, or you could join the military, but you're not moving back here.
Uh-oh.
And so I joined the United States Army. Basic
Hoorah.
training. Thank you. Basic training, advanced individual training, known as AIT, replaced my senior year of high school. And I did well in the military. When I got assigned, that's what brought me up to Washington. I got stationed at Fort Lewis.
Sure. Fort Lewis.
And when I came up here, I had my drums shipped up here. I set them up. I lived in the barracks. I set them up in the barracks. And the first time I played, they have a person on duty 24 hours a day in the barracks. They're called CQ for short. It's charge of quarters. And that guy probably, I lived on the third floor, and he probably got up to my room in about 4 seconds and said, you can't do that here. You can't. There's 125 people living in this building. You can't.
Trying to sleep.
What am I supposed to do? And he said, there's a recreation center right across the street. They have sound booths. You can go book time there and play till your heart's content. Well, you know, being the 80s and excessive, I had a huge drum set. So, you know, it took an hour to load it in the car, drive across the street, another hour to unload it, set it up. And by then it's like, I don't even want to play. Yeah, I'm tired. So my mom bought me a guitar. And I've been playing catch up ever since. So I started really familiarizing myself with this demon here at 17 years old. You know, and,
I have to stop you for a minute, Donnie. Donald at Malador has been making comments, and if you look at your comments, you'll see them. He said, "You now have 51 guitars. Is that the 51st?"
Actually, I think I'm up to about 53. I'm getting ready to sell some, though. I mean, you know, you can only play one, right?
No,
and you know,
I take two at least.
Well, in recent times, you know, I've gotten to get up on stage with some really phenomenal and prominent players here locally, and I've really seen what works and what doesn't. I mean, ultimately, it's what feels good in your hands. But you know, you know, Chad Quist, that guy got me into Paul Reed Smith totally, and now I own more than I could possibly play.
He's phenomenal. Yeah,
he is fun to play with too. He's so intuitive and has so much feeling. He's a great player. Good guy too, really good guy. The only reason I'm not going to be on the Kiss cruise with him is because I got 2 gigs that weekend. Otherwise, I was going to book the Kiss cruise that he's on with his Heart band, and I couldn't do it though. I'd leave my band hanging. So shout out to you, Chad. I'm there. I'm not there because of necessity.
I got another comment here from Michael McNath. I don't know if you know Michael.
You know what? I got to really date myself. I can't see without my glasses.
I know, I can't either. And I'm looking at this and it's like, my gosh, how'd that get that small?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see. Well, on my comments, it says like Facebook user. Doesn't maybe it's people I'm not friends
with. One of us, Michael McNath, and this is the point where I tell people, please put your name on there. After we're done, you can go back into this and you'll see all the comments and who they were made by. But right now, unless
hello, Donald Malador. How you doing, buddy? Hey, where's my family?
They probably didn't know how to get in.
Oh, they do. Believe me, they're Facebook junkies.
Oh, all right. So what point in this, after you got your guitar, and now I know you play the bass, you're a drummer, and you're a guitarist, and I heard you play your guitarist, so I know how good you are. With all
that was a train wreck too, but thank you. I appreciate
it. Do you write your own songs too? Are you a singer-songwriter?
More songwriter than singer. I am not, and anybody that knows me will tell you this because I've told it to them. I am not a lyricist by any stretch of the imagination. I've written lyrics, I've written words. I'm good for about 2 songs a year lyrically. But as any guitar player will tell you, there's always guitar things happening in my head.
Okay.
I tend to, yes, to answer your question, yes, I do write. I tend to work a lot better when I have a lyricist and we have a concept. I can do it both ways. I can introduce a riff or a part, progression,
Right.
whatever, and have somebody put words to that, or I can get a lyrical idea in my head from somebody and put music to it. I love original music. I mean, that's where your true soul comes out as far as music goes.
So at what point, I mean, now you went into the Army, you're playing drums over, I know exactly where that place is. I would go out.
Nelson Rec Center. Nelson Rec
Yes,
Center.
yes, I would
Across
go
the
out
street from 3rd of the 60th Infantry. Hooah, hooah.
there. Yeah, I was a stuffed animal there, and I was a gorilla, and I was the dragon, and I was the Easter bunny, and I'd go all these parties and do all this crazy stuff, and it was
And
a
you're
lot of
still alive to tell about it.
Oh, well, I
The
think I
80s
am.
were excessive in every sense of the word, in such a great way, those of us who survived. But they say if you remember the 80s or the 60s, you really weren't there. So that's what they say.
So, from what point? Now you're stationed Lewis and McCord, which is Fort Lewis at the time you were there.
Mhm.
Did anybody hear you play those drums and ask you to start a band, or what happened in that
Oh, yeah.
scenario?
I would say probably my first true professional gig where somebody actually handed me some money afterwards. I was in the military, but oddly enough, I didn't get to play the drums. I played guitar. I played rhythm guitar and I sang terribly. It was for I believe it was a sergeant major's kind of ball thing or a fundraiser. It was all military, and it was in this auditorium, and there was just a ton of people there. And I sang the very first song I ever sang live in front of people was "Let It Be" by the Beatles.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
yeah, I love it too. Unfortunately, my voice didn't really love it, but I have zero range. But I am in vocal lessons. Thank you,
Oh,
Pamela
good,
Moore.
good,
So
good.
anyway,
We're usually our own worst critics.
yeah, we are.
Did you
We are.
sing at Duval? I don't remember when you were
Yeah,
there.
I think I did. I think
Yeah, I
I
didn't
can't.
think there was anything wrong with your singing at all. So
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I probably picked something that was really, really easy in my range. I don't know, maybe American Band from that's kind of a go-to song.
okay.
Key of D, real simple to sing. Um, Actually, it's funny. I'm currently in two bands, and one of them, I don't even have a microphone. It's great. I love it. Another band that I'm in, I just joined about 3 weeks ago. I had an audition, and they kind of just said, "Hey, you want to try singing this one?" And I'm like, "Oh, here we go." "Blue on Black" from Kenny Wayne Shepherd. I'm singing that now. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. So. Yeah. But
So
anyway, so yeah, to answer your question, yeah, people heard me play. Of course, I was really terrible at it, in my opinion. Still kind of terrible at it, but at least I'm in key most of the time. And God blessed me with a good ear. I pick up stuff really quick because I don't really read music. Yeah, I kind of faked my way through school band, you know. Uh, but I'm intuitive. I'm intuitive, and I really have my feet firmly implanted in kind of the rock and roll formula. I hate to call it formula, but it is. Uh, it, and face it, not a lot of people are really original anymore. We're all copying somebody. Even the guys way back when, the Eric Claptons and
yeah,
the Jeff Becks and all the greats.
right.
They started off copying people, And, those were the fortunate few that really developed a style that's signature. It's hard to find that nowadays. It's real hard to find that because everything's been done in one way, shape, or form. So, basically you play what's out there, but you throw a little bit of Donnie in it, and
Yeah.
Donnie is basically controlled chaos and key and loud. Ask Howard Comfort, of all people. I played on stage with him one night, and I think at one point he said, "Man, you got to turn that amp down." That's Howard. Howard, people. So,
He plays loud.
excuse me.
So
I'm getting better. I'm getting better at playing quietly. So.
So, and the two bands, what are the name of the two bands that you're playing in now, and what kind of bands are they, and how many people in them?
The first one is Max Watts in Olympia. Okay. Rehearsal space, and most gigs are 10 minutes from my house. I love it. Great band, serious, phenomenal players. It is a cover band, so we do pretty much everything from Queensryche to Robert Palmer. And Duran, and just a great bunch of musicians. There's actually 3 guitar players in that band. We make it work. I actually recently built a pedal board that I can get some really great synth pad sounds on. So I'm playing some keyboard parts on guitar, which is kind of different. But yeah, we make it work, and we got a couple gigs coming up that it's going to be trial by fire. We're going to see just how well it works. And then the other band is called The New Normal. They're based out of Puyallup, Tacoma area, and great bunch of people. Only 2 guitar players in that band, and they found me through a classified service on the internet called Bandmix.
Yes, I know where that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on Bandmix, I advertise myself as a rhythm guitar player who can play some lead. Rhythm is really my thing. That's, I love the foundation, and I started playing with these guys, and they really, and gals, there's a female lead singer, and they really dug what I was doing. They're like, "Hey, will you play a lead on that song? Hey, will you play a lead on that song? Hey, will you play a lead on that song?" So I'm getting more into the lead guitar thing, which is fun. It's challenging, to try and be creative, true to the songs we're playing, but be myself at the same time. Yeah.
Well, I know when I first heard you out at Duval, the first thought that came to my mind was, "Hey, he's good." I would say you're more than a rhythm player, but now me, I don't know. I just play the chords. I don't even mess with that lead stuff.
Well, when you get on stage with great guitar players, you got to bring something to the table.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels and wasting time.
I bring my voice. That's number one instrument.
Chad Quist. God, my mind's gone. Manuel Moraes, phenomenal guitar player. Yes. Love that guy. James Howard, insane. Such a feel player, and very educated in playing too.
He's not really rock. I would have to say
he can do it. He can play it.
Yes, he can play
it. His tone is more of a bluesy, kind of a hot rodded bluesy tone, but I've seen that guy pull off some stuff, and I'm just like, dude, if we switch your amp and grow your hair, you're set. I've never told him that though.
You just did.
I just did. Yeah. Hey, James. But to me, in a band, it's all about the drummer, the rhythm section. I play to the drums mostly. And if there's a phenomenal bass player in the room, hey, Lynn Sorensen, Chloe Wilson, I'm a happy camper. And, but what I was saying, when you get up on stage with guys like that, these are seasoned professionals that have been doing it their whole life. Yeah, maybe they had a gas station job to kind of pay a bill, but music was their life, and it wasn't that way with me. Not for a long time. I had kids. I was married. College tuition is not cheap, let me tell you. And I paid college tuition in my day.
Did you go to college?
Not me. Well, I did, but very little. No, I have a 26-year-old son named Jordan. He was, in my mind, he was a musical prodigy. He, as a 16-year-old college student, he was state baritone champion 2 years in a row through WIAA. And he pretty much had carte blanche on what college he wanted to go to. His mom and I never gave him a choice about college. It was just like, yeah, you're going. And he had a choice. He really did. And he chose Oberlin in Ohio, which is a music conservatory. And phenomenal school. He loved the curriculum, hated the culture. So he ultimately ended up at PLU, which has a great music program. Yeah. And so, I sidelined, what I love to do and got a really good career as a truck driver. I drove a truck for almost 30 years. And, I bought a few houses, raised some kids, paid a lot of tuition, and bought a few nice cars along the way. But life has changed in the last, year and a half, big time. And I'm now a widower, and I'm financially able to just play music. So that's what I'm doing. I always played. And the last few years of my trucking career, I had a really successful band. Luckily, everybody knew what they were doing when we first met, and it was magic. It was a band called Days Past. We were based out of Olympia down here, and we played all over for anybody that would let us play. And we rehearsed, oh gosh, I want to say 4 to 5 months before we ever played our first gig. And that first gig was just off the chain. We were so tight, and they're like, where do you guys play? And we're like, well, this is our first gig. And they're like, no. And we're like, yeah, it is. And from there, it just took off. Well, COVID killed that, but
yeah, that's a good segue into that. Let's discuss that.
The bass, one more thing, the bass player from Days Past, his name's Troy Wilson, phenomenal human being, phenomenal musician. I'm currently in Max Watts with him. And so we can't seem to get rid of each other. We just can't.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
99% of the time, I'd say it's a good thing.
All right.
We're like brothers, and you know what brothers do. Brothers fight. So.
Yes. So what was going on during COVID? What was happening with you?
So during COVID, I worked for a trucking company called McLean out in Lakewood.
Oh, yeah. I know them.
Yeah. I was with them for almost 20 years. And I was an essential worker, so I never skipped a step in work. I went to work every day, delivered my groceries in Montana and Idaho. At the time, I was also dealing with a sick wife. My wife had cancer. And through all the chemo and all the treatments, she had zero immunity. So a big priority in life was to keep her safe.
Yeah.
A common cold would have killed her. COVID would have wiped her out in a day. And so I really focused on being, the best husband I could be. And I played music, I had my little studio set up in the house, and I'd go up, after she was taken care of for the day, I would go up, put my headphones on, and just play as loud as I could possibly play, as fast as I could play. it was a great release because that was a tough time for our family and me and her. Her it was insanely tough.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I've been there.
and I when COVID first hit, I was with Days Past, and our last honest to goodness legitimate gig was January 25th. We played at a place called Infernos, and it was a great gig. And literally 2 weeks later, everything was shut down, and we played our lead guitar player's wedding reception, which was kind of done on the down low. You couldn't even have weddings. And he ended up getting married out at his mother's house. She had some acreage and kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And we played his wedding reception. There's my lead guitar player, dressed half in a tux playing lead guitar. It's pretty funny. And then we played one more private party. And after that, Days Passed, the perfect storm hit. Our drummer had a heart condition and basically had to have a life-saving surgery. Had he not had the surgery, he would not be with us today. And this was, and then the beginning of 2021 is when my wife's disease took a turn for the worse. I actually went on FMLA, and I became her full-time caregiver until she passed away in May of 2021. So music really took a back seat. Actually, it took no seat. It was the last thing on my mind. When somebody you adore is, hurting mentally, physically, and wasting away in front of you, the guitar just really isn't that important, And so, yeah. And here we are now, I'm in a good place mentally and, emotionally, mentally. And I'm just super blessed to be able to know some great people, not only outside of music, but in music, that have been very gracious to me and allowed me to, come back into this full steam. Lynn Sorensen, amazing guy.
Yes, indeed.
Doug McGrew he is a phenomenal human on a whole nother level that I don't think people realize.
Yeah, he is.
And all the great guitar players they have, Chad Quist, James Howard, Michael Powers. I can't forget that guy.
Oh, yes. I like Michael.
I saw that guy do the grand opening for the Super Mall in Auburn way back when. And I remember seeing him play going, how in the world does anybody do that kind of thing on a guitar?
Yeah.
I need to put $20 in his tip jar is what I need to do, because he needs to keep doing this. If for nobody else, for me,
Yes.
But, all those people have been so wonderful to me, allowing me to get on stage and suck.
Do you know
allowing
Billy
me.
Shu? Do you know Billy
Oh
Shu?
I know him. I have not had the pleasure of playing with him yet, but I played through his amplifier.
He plays Wednesday nights from 6 to 9 at Stockton Restaurant and Bar and Grill.
Yeah, he was doing a thing on Thursdays too, up in Federal Way, with Doug.
Stars.
And yeah. And another great, that's the thing. That's the thing with 90% of the musicians I know outside of music, they're just great people. They're artistic. They feel, they're not afraid to be that way. I mean, today's world is so cynical and everybody's got an angle, everybody's got a motive, and then you meet these guys. And yeah, there is the business end of it, but when they're up there playing their instruments, they're the purest human beings on the planet. And I'm just honored to know some of them and have them remember my name.
I get it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I come from the South End, and the country scene back when I was with my band was that kind, that if somebody needed money, they would get a place to play, and everybody would
Yeah.
contribute. You know,
Yeah. Well,
it's
it really is a community. I
yes,
mean, we're
regardless, rock, country, whatever. All
mm,
musicians in this area.
well, we're all artists, and artists are kind of quirky people to begin with.
I
you
strung.
know, um, I don't know about anybody else, but I started off as a skinny, twerpy little tweaky geek, and music has brought me to a point where it's the most fulfilling thing in the world, externally.
Yes,
And Lynn Sorensen said it really well. He just wants people to be able to feel what he's feeling,
something. Yeah,
feel something.
yeah,
And whether it's like, whoa, that guy's terrible, or wow, that guy's grooving, whatever it is, they're feeling something. People are getting in touch with their feelings. And if you're doing that, mission accomplished.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, you
it,
can
it,
be the best guitarist out there and best singer ever, technically
yeah,
correct. But if you
yes,
cannot connect, it's for naught. Yeah.
right. And there's a musician that I really look up to. He'll know who he is. I'm going
Okay.
to leave it a mystery, but he said,
Yes.
no matter how good you are, there's somebody right down the street better than you.
Better.
Just know.
Yeah.
The two main
Absolutely.
things I learned from this guy, and you know him, Joy.
Yeah.
The main two things I learned from this guy are, well, three things are: number one, no matter how good you are, there's somebody better. So don't believe your own press.
Yeah.
Number two, uh, number two, every band, no matter how phenomenal or how great you get along, has a shelf life. And the wisdom comes knowing when to step off,
Yeah.
go out on top.
Yeah.
And number three, when you're on stage and it train wrecks, don't stop. Do not stop, because half the time the audience won't even know you messed
No,
up
yeah.
unless you stop. And I made that mistake one night with this guy. And I swear to God, I felt about this big by the time he was done talking to me about it. And the rest of the band through the microphone. I'm just like, oh, this is a low. This is a low. But, the kind of person he is, he brought us right back up, and we were filling it before we were done. So, yeah.
I did that last night. I had this saxophone player that wanted to come up and play. His name is Daryl Adams, I believe. I don't know if you know him or not. Mm-hmm. And he took a blast of that sax, and boom, my mind totally shut down. I couldn't remember my words. I didn't know where I was.
You went from being the performer to being the spectator, apparently.
I'm mind blowing, the spectator.
Right.
And then, we kept playing, and I finally, they just kept going around until I could figure out where I was and get back in. But I just wasn't expecting that. He totally blew my mind. I don't know if you've ever had that experience.
All the time. Like I said, I've gotten to get on stage with some really great guitar players. Manuel, I'll take him for instance.
Yeah. Manuel, that's great.
He's kind of more in my wheelhouse. He's a hard rock guy. I mean, he can play anything, but he really shines at the hard rock thing. And that's my wheelhouse. And when he gets up there and starts playing, I got to really stay focused, because I'll just stop and watch him play. Maybe I'll learn something, And I actually bought a guitar from him not too long ago. Great guitar.
Yeah, he's quite the guy. He was up there playing country with me in Duval, and he said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to play with this country.
He'll figure it out. He became an American citizen just a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I saw that.
I am so happy for that guy. That's a guy that does not take the American dream for granted. If anybody deserved it, he deserved it, because he's living the American dream. He's a rock star. He's got a great wife. He gets to do what he wants to do for a living. He doesn't work a day in his life because he loves what he does.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so happy for him. So happy.
Hey,
Manuel, So
Yeah, I had the thing I like about him, a lot of people don't, and it gets customers sometimes and it gets establishment mad, but I love that he speaks his mind.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he does. If it comes out of his mouth, he means it.
Right,
It's
right.
probably the
Yeah.
truth.
He's just a genuine human being
Yeah.
who's in touch, as all artists are.
Yes.
He's really truly in touch with something greater than himself. You know,
You know,
and
I was
any musician, whether they're a writer, a guitar player, a painter, whoever, if they tell you, yeah, I sculpted this, yeah, I came up with this note thing. I'll tell you what, they're lying to you, because the true artists, it comes from somewhere. You don't make it. It's already there. It's just channeled through you. And sometimes you hit the mark, sometimes you don't. But it comes from something greater than us.
I
For some
agree.
people, it's God. For some people, it's just
The
supreme being
universe.
of the universe, whatever. In AA and NA, they could be a doorknob, whatever. It just, it's it comes from something greater than us. And I think we're the luckiest human beings on the planet to be in touch with that,
Right.
because being open to receive something from somewhere that's greater than you, I think it teaches. I think music academically, you do better academically in school. Uh,
Yes.
you feel more
Absolutely.
in your relationships. I think it makes you love better. I think when you're sick, it makes you feel better to listen. When you're sad, it gives you a place to go. When you're just completely off the rails, going nuts because life has thrown you a curveball,
Yeah.
that guitar sitting in the corner saying, "Play me, play me."
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
that's just God. I try not to take things for granted, especially this last year and a half. But I will never take music for granted. If I can play an E chord and do it well, I'm thrilled. I, I'm so blessed to be tied into this cosmic thing. I really am.
Yeah, I was talking to Manuel one night because he was playing over his wife, and she's a great singer. And I said,
Yeah.
Manuel, I can't hear the words. I can't hear her sing because you guys are too loud. And he said, well, when she gets up there and sings and it's something we like, we just get all excited. And the more we're excited, the louder it gets.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. Their band, Banshee,
Yeah.
played a gig 4th of July down in my neck of the woods, and um, Manuel and Lynn Sorensen said, "Hey, come on down. Check us out. Blah blah blah. It's only 10 minutes from your house." I'm like, "Thank God, I don't have to drive an
Where
hour."
you live? What area?
I live in Olympia,
Ah,
and
oh, that's a
yeah.
ways.
So the night I went to Duval, that was a commitment. That was a
Yeah,
long
that
drive.
was a
It
long
was a
way.
really long drive going home, let me tell you, but it was worth it. Anyway, um, they invited me down to watch their gig on the 4th of July. And as I was getting ready to leave, where I'd seen them at, they said, "Oh yeah, bring your guitar." I'm like, "Okay." And they let me get up on stage and play with them. And that was such
Yeah.
an honor,
Oh,
such an
yeah.
honor. And those guys really make anybody sound good. Let me tell you,
They do.
they do. They do. I mean, you could be the hackiest guitar player in the world, and when you're on stage with the likes of Manuel and Susan and Lynn and their drummer Paul, I think his name was,
Yeah,
phenomenal.
Higgins, and maybe Paul Higgins is out who's playing.
Yes, yes, that's him. That's him. That was the first and only time I met him. I met him 5 minutes before I got to play with him. um, but God, those are such seasoned professionals and warm people, just super phenomenal people. And to have them let me in their club a little bit, it's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
We got
Yeah.
some more comments. I think Patrick O'Donnell, he's from Dublin Abbey, and they do Irish tunes.
Oh
And
yeah, I see that. Yeah, yeah.
so he's there online, and there's another one here. I think they're asking if you ever had in your high school years or beyond guitar instructor. I believe that's what they're asking.
Yeah, I see that. So overall, no. Like I said earlier, in middle school or in California, they call it junior high. In eighth grade, I had a biology teacher who also did an elective class at the end of the day, and it was guitar. And he brought like 5 or 6 old beat up acoustic guitars. And I did that, but I kind of had already known what he was teaching, basic chords. It was more a place to hang out. We did have music classes in high school, just not a performing marching band. We had kind of a ragtag group of musicians that would kind of sit up in the bleachers at the football games, only at home games, and play some really beat up instruments, kind of just to get the crowd going, but
Right.
nothing really formal. We did not have a jazz program or class. Nothing like that. No, not until my junior year. Like I said, I went to Lusinger High School, and there was another high school called Lawndale High School. They were literally 3 miles from each other because LA is huge. There's 90 trillion people live there. And they discovered that they could do without one of those high schools. And it freed up a lot of money, which got the music program going in my high school. I wish it would have happened earlier. I might have stayed in school and actually finished school, but in another way, I'm really happy the way things turned out. I mean, academically, I think I'm fine.
So basically, you kind of learned all this guitar, drumming, and bass by yourself. You're self-taught.
Kiss started it.
Yes, Kiss did it.
Yeah. Say what you will about Kiss. A lot of people say, they're kind of primitive songwriters. What they're writing's not really, it's not Rush. Rush is Rush. Say what you will about Kiss. They have managed to have a 50-year career, and they're still doing it at a real high level. And the bottom line is there's some good songwriting going on there. Besides performing, I mean, their performances are over the top, of course, but there's some bottom line, there's love of music, and there's some good songwriting there. There's some iconic songs that are just like the simplest to play. I mean, you show us everything you've got. I think there's like 4 chords in that whole song, rock and roll all night. That song gets played everywhere. They've probably made $9 trillion on that song alone. Say what you will. There's some good songwriting that happened there, and there was a chemistry that worked.
Can't remember what song it was, but it's a one chord song hit. Gosh, and I can't remember what it is. And I looked over at Billy and I said, "What's the chord progression here?" He says, "One chord." It's a rock song, and I'm like, okay. And Tennessee Whiskey has 2, and look, that song's been around a long time.
Well, Chris Stapleton's like off the charts, amazing. So.
Yes.
Sweaty, chubby guy who can just play his butt off.
Blow your mind. So I have another question for you.
Sure.
As you've been going through your life, and obviously we all do, we all look back from time to time and take a look at where we're at. What are some of the memorable moments, the aha moments that you can remember as being places where you either changed direction or were convinced that you were on the right journey?
Tough question. An aha moment. I'd have to say the first time I got up on stage at the Moose Lodge as a teenager, that was that was something, man. I don't think I've played that good since. It's kind of like
Yeah.
I hate to compare the two, but drug addicts, they're always chasing their first high. That very first high was just insane. After that, they're just trying to recreate that. That's kind of my story with music, I think, because it was outworldly. It was outworldly. I mean, here it was like I was two or three different people. One part of me is really focusing on playing the right way. The other part was looking at my parents just being completely flabbergasted. And the most significant part was just the pure joy. The pure joy. Your namesake.
Has that ever left? Has that feeling ever left you?
No. Whether there's whether there's 5 people in our audience or 505, when you turn on the amplifier and your drummer kicks in with that groove and your bass player is just like boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it could be an empty room and it's still just amazing. It's just I love music. All the external trimmings are cool. Hair, wardrobe, really cool looking guitars. That's fun. That's but it's finite. It's got a shelf life. It's not this.
Right.
The music itself in my mind is eternal. It was here before me and it's going to be here long after I'm dust. And I guess my aha moment was in the Moose Lodge in Hawthorne, California at I think 14, 15, something like that. Yeah.
And now you're following that journey. And now that you've gotten to this part of it, do you have any advice for people who are listening that might be wondering, well, how do I do this? How do I get into playing?
I have the perfect advice.
All right.
Be a doctor, be a lawyer. Oh, no, I'm kidding. That's so cliche.
Yeah.
Play what makes you happy. Play what makes you happy. Learn the other stuff. I mean, listen to everything, because all of it will serve you well. Hip hop, rap, pop, Korean bebop, whatever they call it, hard rock, metal, the 9,000 subgenres that are out there. Give it all a listen. Give it all a listen and listen to it from an open place. Don't if you listen to a song that just has this loud, screechy, rude guitar, don't focus on that. Listen to the music. Listen to the arrangements. Listen to what they're trying to tell you. Listen to the story they're telling, I guess.
Yeah, good advice.
And don't get in it to be rich, because it's like professional sports. 0.02% or whatever the statistic is are going to be the people that actually, make millions of dollars at it. Get into it because you love it. Do it because you love it, because that's where you're going to put out the purest product. Okay. And never stop learning, never stop playing. And I would say total brain cramp. Just do it because you love it.
Yeah.
Do it because you love it. And if you're fortunate enough to make a living out of it, you'll never work a day in your life, And if you don't, there's 1,000,009 other jobs out there that you can do where you still have time to do this,
Right.
Yes,
absolutely. So
last thing, be really, really gracious and genuine to the people on the way up, because you will see those same people on the way down. You will. And if you're
Right.
backbiting and clawing to get up the ladder, on your way down, you're going to see those people you injured, and that just comes back to being a basically good human
Good
being.
human being.
Be a good human, um, ask yourself, would my mom be proud of what I'm about to do? Would my mom be proud? Would my wife be proud? Would my kids be proud? That yeah.
So, in the last few minutes that we have, this gone really, really fast, a little less 5 minutes. Do you have anything you'd like to promote? Any upcoming gigs with any of your bands? Any idea
Sure.
what you want to be doing in the next 5 years, where you're headed?
Well, I hope to be buried with a guitar. uh, no.
Never thought of that.
So, I got this really warped out thing. My stepdad, he raced at the local race car track, stock cars.
Yeah.
He did figure eights on a dirt track. He always wanted to be buried in the intersection of the raceway. And I was like, nah, that's not happening. No. That's going to be sold as prime real estate one day. I came up with this really warped idea. I want to be cremated and have my ashes put into paint and get four really great guitars, have them painted and give each one to my kid. Is that sick?
Good idea.
I think it's sick, but it's original.
No.
It's original. So anyway, getting back to gigs. With Max Watts, I'm playing October 28th and October 29th at O'Malley's Lounge in Olympia. The Saturday night performance, the 29th, there's going to be a costume contest and just a good time. Halloween falls during the week.
Yeah.
So, we're kind of doing the whole show thing beforehand. Beyond that, we're just rehearsing really hardcore and really getting our product put together. Same with the second band, New Normal. That's a very new thing. We're still kind of figuring out who's going to do what in that band, but it's coming together in a really great way. The music is getting really good by leaps and bounds. And then I'll play anywhere that they've let me play. I love doing Lynn Sorensen's open mic up in Dawson's on Wednesdays, although lately I've been kind of busy on Wednesday nights. But as far as actual gigs coming up, I just have the two at the end of this month for now. And then some other stuff in the pipeline that will be finalized. I'm sure we will be playing New Year's Eve and, all the premier choice gigs. Max Watts coming to a town near you. So,
We'll look for that. And can you also post that on Matured Musicians for me?
Yes, absolutely. There's been some promo stuff done already. I will link it up to your page.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the last couple of minutes, I'm looking. I think
Have I talked too much, by the way?
Oh yeah, no, you did not.
You,
That's what you're supposed to do, is talk.
tell me how you really feel. Don't hold back. I can take.
No, I really feel that you're very easy to interview because you are talkative, and I don't have to. I don't have to work so hard to get things out of you. Anyway, so that we never answered the 5-year plan. What do you see in the next 5 years? What kind of goals are you setting for yourself, if any? Or if you haven't thought about it, now's a good time, I suppose, to give me some idea where you're at.
Putting the bug in my ear. I'm never going to stop playing music. My 5-year plan is to be with an established band of great human beings playing great music. I would love to tour if we could get to that point. I know it wouldn't be, some great, international tour or anything, but I would love to do a West Coast tour, visit my hometown and, show all my friends that, twerpy little geek from way back when's pretty cool now.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Um,
great.
yeah.
I hope I hope you
I'm
get
just going to
successful.
keep playing me. I'm just going to keep playing music, and what comes my way comes my way, and what doesn't, there's a reason it didn't. Everything has a
Exactly.
reason, and I'm not in control of this grand plan. I'm just, I don't even live here at my house. My cat allows me to occupy some space here. So I'm just going to keep playing my guitar and continue to get better at it. And
That sounds
and
like a winning
hopefully
goal.
one day I'll know how to actually play it. So yeah,
Well, I think you already do. I think you
thank
do
you.
quite well.
Thank you
So
very
with
much.
that, I hate to say it, but we have reached that 1 hour mark. I do want to thank you so much, Donnie, for coming. I'm hoping people will continue to listen, those that are at work today and couldn't get to it or had to practice or whatever in studio, whatever. And it will be posted here, will be posted on my Facebook account
Awesome.
and YouTube. So you can find it there, interview with Donnie Bowles. I will also send you a link. And with that, I do wish you a good rest of your week. And I hope that all your goals are reached. And it's been a great fun talking to you, Donnie.
You too, Joy. You're an
Yeah.
amazing interviewer. Super
Thank
easy.
you. Thank you. You take
Uh-huh.
care. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye bye. Bye,
Okay.
Internet.
Okay. Let me see if I can get to this. All right. So next week, I do have a young woman. Her name is Deborah McDonald, and she was playing at the Oxford when I met her, redhead country singer. And she has had a karaoke gig for a while. The owners have now disbanded that. They want to try something different, but she was very successful. She will be interviewing on next Monday at 2 o'clock. So please tune in. Also, I have Courtney Prather, who is the lady who helps me with all my web stuff, who is going to put out a tip jar sort of thing on my website, so that those people who feel like they would like to contribute to my music in the future can do that. I cannot continue to record without funds like everybody else, and I'm not gigging at this point. So if you do feel it in your heart when that gig jar gets put out there, please contribute. I will appreciate it and put it to good use. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you soon. Bye, everybody. Take care. Have a good week. Now, let's see if I can end this. This is always fun. Bye. No, not again.